I'm joined now by partner and head of tech insurance at KPMG Nigeria, Lawrence Amadi, to discuss some of the top stories and major stories from the week. Thanks for coming again on our show, Lawrence. It's been quite a while.
It has been a while. Thank you for having me, Rolake.
Yeah, good to see you back. So the first story we're talking about is Microsoft and Activision. Microsoft and Amazon under fresh regulatory scrutiny yet again around antitrust practices. What's going on? Is this an onslaught on tech companies?
So I'd start off by saying the UK traditionally are very big on regulation.
Yeah.
They were the proponents of GDPR.
Okay.
And they are the proponents of just driving regulation, for businesses. On the other hand, American businesses or America in general are they're a bit loose. And they want businesses to thrive. And that's why you have Amazon and Microsoft being $2 trillion companies, and they're still growing.
Yeah.
So that whole drive in the UK, I just reckon is they want to give a fair playing field to the other cloud service providers.
Who are the other cloud services?
So Google Cloud is ranking third, and is a distant third from Azure and from AWS. So I think this is just them trying to level the playing field a bit and allow some gap get closed.
Yeah,
that's my thinking.
Interesting, because even the third, fourth, fifth ranked are pretty big players themselves, and they themselves could move to make acquisitions in this sector that could lead to the risk of a big conglomerate or a big monopoly in the sector. So, I mean, how long is this going to go on for? How long can they keep regulating?
I'm just going to say money is power.
Right.
Now, AWS and Azure are going to continue to even acquire those guys that they potentially should acquire. And I think it doesn't help competition. So essentially, the struggle will continue for a while to come.
It'd be interesting to see, because I know Amazon was under the limelight some weeks or months back around practices around its Prime business, consumers not being able to unsubscribe or getting confused when they get to the dashboard and so on. So it'd be interesting to see how that evolves. The E-naira, so the CBN has released a report on its E-naira economics of digital currency. It's now about 2 years old. I haven't heard much about the E-naira anywhere. Do you use the E-naira?
So I can talk about E-naira. I don't use the E-naira, sadly. Okay. Again, when we think about when this was launched 2 years ago, the whole drive was, let's replicate what Sweden has done with the e-krona.
Okay.
And let's also give our own products that competes with crypto.
Right.
But I don't think we thought about this carefully enough, and sadly so. Why do I say that? I say that because if you look at the currency in circulation, we gradually reduced the quantum in circulation just to manage inflation.
Right.
I don't think we've done too well. And if you have more E-naira, you reduce the liquid cash available for some of the short-term loans that the banks can give. So when I look at our products and the value prop, not quite sure we've done what we intend to do with it. Again, just to educate our viewers, you've got to have a smartphone to use E-naira.
Right.
Now, if you look at the population of people using smartphones, you'd immediately exclude
quite a large chunk.
Yes, a huge chunk of Nigerians who don't have smartphones. So from that angle, again, I don't think we've done that correctly.
And so do you think going forward, should it be a revision of the E-naira structure, or should it be a case of scrapping it altogether? Where would you stand?
So there's a recent report that suggests the central bank want Nigerians in diaspora to remit via E-naira to Nigerians locally here. And that whole drive, again, if the currency keeps free falling, the diaspora Nigerians will prefer the USD remittance, because it's just better for them to create more value for their relatives back home.
Yeah, so essentially what you're saying is that even the use and success of the E-naira is tied to currency stability in any case, which comes with its own whole issue of dynamics, which we can talk to. Interesting, very, very interesting topic. Now, generative AI versus traditional AI. It's incredible that AI has barely been how many years old, and we're now talking about an advanced state of generative AI, which has caused a lot of controversy.
Correct.
But what do you see? McKinsey released this report about how it's contributing to business efficiency. But of course, there are two sides to every coin. What do you see as the real long-term benefit of generative AI? Okay,
so I'm excited about tech, and I'm sure you know this. So for, again, those that are wondering, what is this AI and what is generative AI? AI in itself is artificial intelligence. Generative AI is AI that generates text, graphics, images, or content using generative models.
Right.
Now, the whole idea behind this is let's ease, processes. Let's ease how people do things. And that whole drive, is pushing companies and businesses, to just rethinking their business models. And that's why this is reshaping how we do things at the workplace today. I've been on projects where we're building AI-type solutions for clients, and we're automating hundreds of processes. Now, it doesn't make jobs redundant. Okay. It just means people have to then think about what else do we do that require judgment, that makes us relevant at the workplace.
And so it would also mean upskilling, because you also need people to be able to interface with these new technologies. So 100%. There's a whole new generation of skill sets that will have to be developed. But if you look at a market like Nigeria, what sort of industries do you think generative AI could potentially be transformative for? What types of use cases?
Lots of use cases locally. I would say one, the banks. There's a whole lot of things they can do with generative AI. Telco. Again, there's a whole lot they can do. Oil and gas and power, there's a whole lot we can do. I guess we've got to resolve some of the broadband type issues, and also, just ensuring connectivity is a lot better. And we also upskill. We need that skill. Unfortunately, we're losing a lot of the skills to Canada and the UK, but we need to skill up people, retain them, and also hopefully pay them well and, make them stay.
And speaking of skilling people is the Minister of Digital Economy, who's been around a lot. We've seen him in the headlines a lot, clearly working hard for the money. But they've released a blueprint saying they want to train 3 million tech talents in Nigeria. And we have a huge young population, a thriving tech ecosystem. What do you make of this blueprint, and what impact do you think it will have? Is it hitting all the right spots in your view as a tech specialist?
Rolake, a good question.
Yeah.
And I really hope Dr. Tijani is watching, because his document is probably one of is a big hit.
Okay.
And
how so? Why is it a big hit?
Big hit because everyone is just forwarding this. Everyone in the corporate circle, is forwarding this document. It's gone viral essentially from the date of release. Big hit because every sector in the country would have to rely one way or the other on telecommunications.
Right.
So banks, oil and gas, just name all sectors, they need connectivity to thrive. And he's made a bold statement by saying, look, we've got to train 3 million tech talents. We'll probably need more.
Okay.
We're over 200 million people. So you've got to train a lot more resources to power this economy. If you look at America, the entertainment industry is, it rests on it, almost solely. And that sector, you would see it's fused into ICE, information, communication, and entertainment.
Right.
So we have to make a huge or a bold statement, and that's what Dr. Tijani has done. Some of us know that he's also looked at some of the top consulting firms. He's worked with them to develop the documents, and we're proud that he's doing that. And we're hoping that the follow-through would help us.
It's interesting. Is KPMG providing any sort of advisory? But no, on a more serious note, so having a document, an idea is great. Now, translating that into short-term gains versus long-term gains. We're already, more than 100 days into this administration. What are some of the quick wins that we do you think we can distill from this sort of initiative? What are some of the quick wins on your horizon? Okay,
so just yesterday, the Vice President has mandated and also empowered a new committee, a technical committee focused on investing in digital, creative, and entertainment industry, simply called iDice.
Okay.
And iDice, have got about $700 million, funds behind it to support creatives, to support innovators in the digital space, and to see that we can create our own unicorns in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I think it's a bold statement by Alhaji Shetima, and I believe that would also carry its own impact. If you've got to fund it, you got to put your money where your mouth is for us to make that real traction.
Yeah, of course, it all boils down for that. Interestingly, after this segment, I'm going to be talking to 2 filmmakers around funding, so that should be interesting. But our final story before we go is around the issue of industrialization in Nigeria and our huge import reliance and not being able to kind of transition from being an import reliance country to a country that has a strong manufacturing base, is productive, is exporting goods across the commodities value chain and exporting services. What in your mind has really been the main impediment for Nigeria being able to make that shift?
Historically, we had the opportunity to turn this tide. When the currency was still really strong. This was when we could have spent some time in, moving those cranes here, just like Dubai and Qatar all did.
Yes.
We could have moved those cranes here when we had a stronger economy, stronger currency, but we missed the opportunity. Today, manufacturers, if you look at the machinery and the raw materials, 80% of those, we have to depend on them coming in. And those are all USD based. If you look at the currency, we've moved from about 460 plus to 775 after the currency got floated. That's a 63% plus in the devaluation. The World Bank report recently did say we have the worst performing currency on the Africa continent, followed by South Africa and Burundi. It's not a good place to be because we're talking about ease of doing business. And we need to actually just catch on this industrialization.
Yeah, indeed. Industrialization is something that hopefully the tech sector can help us transition to, but clearly there's going to need to be a lot of long-term and sustainable infrastructure to fund that. Well, thanks for joining us and sharing your insights. As always, our tech guru, Lawrence Amadi of KPMG Tech Assurance.